everybody. Welcome back to Star Wars Minute, the daily podcast where we analyze, scrutinize, and celebrate the Star Wars movies, 1 minute at a time. I'm Pete the Retailer from PeteTheRetailer.com.
I'm Alex Robinson from AlexRobinson.fun.
I'm Suzen Tekla Kruglnska, formerly from The Shining 237 and Rosemary's Baby 666.
Well, you're still from there, but you're not. They're not actively.
In fact, I never did the last episode of Rosemary's Baby 666. I'm going to do it because I have to interview the Antichrist for the last episode, and I still haven't. It's going to happen. It's going to happen. But that's it. Otherwise, it's a complete series. Yeah. Mm-hmm. So.
Well, I do like the devil is in the details in that instance.
Yeah, he's hard to get. He's hard to get.
Well, we're happy we were able to get you for this because today we're talking about minute 78 of Solo, a Star Wars story. Minute 78 starts with Chewbacca making a new friend after he left Han Solo. And it ends with Han opening the Coaxium vault and asking, now what? Just like we all do.
Yeah.
Is this all I am?
Welcome to the club, pal.
Yeah. Chewbacca makes a new friend. We meet Sagwa.
Sagwa the Wookiee.
Sagwa the Wookiee, who is not played by Anthony Daniels.
No, for some reason, I always thought this guy was played by Anthony Daniels. But,
I'll tell you why. Because
tell me why.
There was an interview.
4 stars.
Beforehand, before the movie came out, there was an interview. I might have been with one of the Kazdans. And that was hinted at there. They said, yeah, we got. But I think he was conflating things and was just like, yeah, we got, Anthony Daniels is going to be in it as a Wookiee because he was in this scene and he was part of that. And he just thought he was going to be a Wookiee. And then there was perhaps there was an image that ran with it. Basically, it was a mistake that propagated early on.
Okay, good. So it's not just me.
But
he does come up, right? He does come up.
Anthony Daniels does play a character in this scene, Tack.
Mm-hmm. But I have not seen him.
Fagin-looking character here.
Yeah, I think it's a little bit in the future. I think. I can be wrong.
Well, and
down
also,
the road a bit.
This is so. The official guide has a cool picture of Sagwa. You can see his kind of like he's been working in the mines for a while, so his fur is all mangy and it's all thinning, and you can see his skin underneath it and everything. And it's been a while since we complained about how dark and murky this movie is, but you can't see any of those. This might as well be an off-the-rack mask that this guy's wearing because you can't see any details on it. They really, the costume department must be like, why do we put all that work into it when this person could have been rolled up in a rug with a Planet of the Apes mask on for all the difference it makes? You were saying, Susan?
No, just right after Solo came out, I think I had been on. Maybe it was Return of the Jedi, you guys, your season. And we had just seen it. And I said, that was the first thing I said, like, I don't know what was going on with that color. You know what I mean? It's like, it's so weird. But I know like some people say if it's really well projected, it looks good. But man, yeah, that was really tough. So yeah, I'm just going to chime in and agree with that problem.
It comes and goes that when there's, like when it's outside on Vandor or when it's, in the yacht, it's like easier to see things. But when it's a place that is darker and murkier, like, most of the time a movie will accommodate for that. So you can still tell what's going on while given the idea of it being murky. But this is just all washed out, nothing.
The blacks are not black, the blacks are not black. And that's, the biggest thing. But, and then it is a little overly monochrome, and then they go totally blue, when he gets into the vault. But it's a little too monochromy too, it seems like they should. It's such a pretty, like when you look at the far shots, the planet on the surface where they're coming down, it's pinks and yellows. It's too bad they didn't that was really cool. But
they're for you Sagwa fans though. You'll be happy to know that Sagwa does survive the film. And apparently shows up in the comics during one of the when Chewbacca contacts Sagwa because they're trying to track down Boba Fett, who of course has Han Solo and Carbonite. So so he at least survives till the time of Empire Strikes Back. But I guess so, which is incredible considering what terrible shape he's in when we meet him with his mangy fur and everything.
Yeah.
I mean, the fact that he survives another 12 years is pretty much a miracle.
I think he's kind of stunted growth for a Wookiee, right? Kind of stunted growth, probably because
he's emaciated. But I don't know if he's
a little short, isn't he?
He is a little shorter, I think, than
he's a little short for a Wookiee.
That so I have a little bit more on Sagwa.
What you got?
There was the rumor that it was Golden Tony, and I remember when that. I don't know if it was a still of, or if it was from the trailer of like Chewbacca basically, putting his head up to Sagwa's head. That people thought, oh, maybe this is going to be Mala. Maybe this is going to be Chewbacca's wife. It's neither of those things. All new character in the dark. Sagwa is played by a man named Attila Vajda.
Attila.
Well, Attila.
Attila?
Yeah. Attila Vajda, who is 6'8" or 9, probably 6'8.5". So maybe a little bit shorter than Chewbacca, a little bit shorter than Junis, a little bit taller than that. And he worked behind the scenes. He worked on the movie both with Lord and Miller and with Ron Howard, and so has a unique perspective on that, and has remained tight-lipped about it. Says you can't talk too much about it, but it did, I think, because of the creative differences and what have you, it was, by the end, it was starting to seem very chaotic, and Ron Howard was a very calming, guiding presence, which makes sense for what we've heard about it, whether or not, artistically, whether or not that translates into something, that's a whole different argument, but at least for the players involved. And so speaking of the players involved, Attila is a former basketball player. He's Hungarian, I believe. And he was inspired to learn to play basketball when he was a tall young man at home in his probably teens, and he saw the movie White Men Can't Jump, starring Woody Harrelson, who he got to meet and interact with in this movie, and he was thrilled because that literally sent him on that. That was his inspiration in life, because he was a tall white guy and didn't think that there was a place for him in basketball. Then he watched White Men Can't Jump, and he was like, "Oh, I could play basketball." And he did. He played professionally around Europe for a couple of years.
I wonder. I don't think they never meet on screen. I don't think, but I wonder if they met. And I wonder if they met, on the set or whatever. Well,
they did. I think they met on set for this scene, but also Attila was a stand-in for Junis, who was unavailable when they were doing some tests for the Sabak game at Fort Ipso, which Chewbacca is not at. I hadn't really noticed that. Chewbacca's not there watching the Han Solo Lando Sabak game. I think. And they were shooting around it, and Junis wasn't available, so Attila put on the Chewbacca costume. We got to actually be Chewbacca for a little bit, just in stuff that they knew they weren't going to use, but they were just doing lighting tests and doing some screen test basically stuff, seeing how it would work.
I think he is there.
He is there during the match? During the game?
Think so,
the
yeah.
match.
I think so, yeah.
A Sabak match. Why don't we call it a match?
Han Solo card game match.
Yeah. But anyway, maybe then they were just blocking it out and he got to be a stand-in for Junis. But that's, I don't know, between one or two of these places, that's where, A, probably that's where he got to work with both directors, and B, that's also where he got to meet Woody Harrelson, and he was thrilled. So.
Nice.
Yeah.
Nice.
Congratulations, Attila.
So there's a scene where Han Solo interacts with the guard outside the mine, outside the Coaxium vault, which we are establishing in this safe space that the Coaxium is just being stored there because they traded for it or whatever, that they do not actually mine it here, is what we are saying, right? So that's what we're going with.
That's what we're feeling.
And they have one guard.
Well, I assume the other ones are all off trying to suppress the rebellion and stuff.
Right. Yeah. They've all got. She, L3 was super happy. She created a distraction. So there you go.
Yeah. So when he comes up, the guard goes, does a bunch of stuff, and that jibber jabber voice, and then Han imitates it, which I thought was a good gag.
Yeah.
Especially because usually I imagine they do the voice, they do the special effects, they dub it in afterwards. So it's interesting that Han is repeating something. I'm guessing they just had the guy say it, and then they kind of, you know what I mean?
Yeah.
It's like he's responding to something that was dubbed in later that they had to match it to what he was saying. So,
yeah, I guess so. Do you think that they came up with a thing and they're like, all right, say that, here's how you say it?
I don't know, or did they just have him say something and then try to match it later on?
Right.
You know what I mean?
Yeah.
I love that exchange. I think it's a very Han Solo, very cute. It's funny. It's genuinely very funny. Yeah. But then I don't like the follow-up joke. So then he knees him in the groin, which was going to work. And then he smashes him in the face. And then you have Kira and Woody. I can't think of anything but Woody. Woody, I will never think of him as Beckett. I will always think of him as Woody.
Sure.
Woody, they're like, ooh, what did they say? They're like, oh, that was impressive. Yeah. And like, I thought that I didn't like that little accent. And I think it's because, he just smashed him in the face. And with that big helmet, I don't think that would have really knocked him out. But I think they had to make it more, had to make that little action to knock this guard out to seem more impressive than it was. So they punctuated with that comment. But I just thought that was a little.
Yeah, it's not terribly impressive. But
in Star Wars in general, helmets do not protect you from being knocked unconscious by being hit in the head.
I noticed
stormtroopers are always getting knocked out by being hit in the head, and other people.
That's a huge, really long. It's a long way from your face. You have a lot of protection over your face, and he just like boom, and he's out. But and then he has the electric. I would have rather have seen him like electric. I mean, I don't want to see violence, but you could have electrocuted him.
Yeah.
What
I think half of the minute should have been taken up by him holding it. And the guy's like,
it was more efficient. It was more efficient for
in the groin.
In the groin.
Well, that's what. So he hits the guy in the groin, and then we do get a reaction shot. And I'm glad that it's not. I'm glad, that technically this counts as a reaction shot to somebody getting hit in the groin, which is one of my least favorite things. But technically, they're not. They're more reacting to Han Solo doing this thing, and they're not like. I'm glad they didn't cut back to Beckett and Kira being like, "Ooh," anything like that.
Yes, absolutely.
They didn't cut back to a droid covering his eyes.
No, I'm glad they didn't cut back, but I do wish they had shown something. I feel like they missed an opportunity here to have a droid go like wah, wah, or like something like that. You know what I mean? They totally should have done that.
No. They should have. If there's like a blooper reel or something that they eventually release, sure.
I'm also just surprised that you guys are both okay with the kicking in the groin thing, which is unprecedented in Star Wars. Have we ever seen someone hit in the groin in Star Wars?
I don't know. Have we?
I don't think so. Yeah.
I mean, I think it speaks to our debased current age where someone is getting kicked in the football in the groin in a Star Wars movie.
It's just
of course,
efficient.
All aliens keep their family jewels right there between their legs, just all
Star
primates
Trek taught us
do.
They don't. So,
well, in the Star Trek universe, yeah. Right. So I guess they couldn't have ripped off that gag here, have him kick him in the groin, and the creature's just like, I don't know.
Right.
Or that's like the version of like tickling them. And he's like, oh, stop it. So no reaction shot. I think they should have shown a guy drinking wine and then thrown the bottle away after
that same guy,
after he got kicked in the
They
groin.
totally mixed that guy in here during all the chaos that he keeps. He's drinking wine and he sees robots running by, like screaming and hitting things, and he sees Wookiees going by, like chasing their captors, and he sees Han pushing a wheelbarrow of coaxium.
But you would think there'd be some protocol that if chaos breaks out in this vicinity, we need a bunch of people to get to that coaxium vault because it's so valuable. I don't know. You would kind of think that would be like the main thing that they'd want to protect.
Well, that to me adds fuel to our theory because if this is just a storage room that they're temporarily keeping it in, it's not like they always have coaxium in there. It might have just been old mattresses and stuff, so they don't normally think, we got to protect the old mattress room. I
love the idea of the guard in front of the old mattresses just like sitting there and like, what's going on? Yeah.
It's a cushy job, the mattress guard. Yeah. What's the worst thing that happens? Someone breaks in and takes a nap inside. It was kind of
well, it has to be very carefully temperature controlled, so they must have known what they were doing. I mean,
that's true.
It has to have been set up for that.
Oh, that's the guy's just like sitting there with the control panel with the thermostat. I think anytime it goes up to like 72, no, and he hits the button, and he's like keeping it very climate controlled the whole time.
Well, that's one thing. Go ahead.
No, I was going to go back to Woody Harrelson for a second.
Okay, so then I'll go with mine.
Okay.
Considering, so basically the Falcon lands, they go into the control room with the head guy.
Landed. Yeah.
And then they send 2 people down into the mine, and then they just, how has someone not robbed this place before? If it's so, they do it so easily. They basically throw this whole place into chaos. They walk in, kill the main guy, and then set everyone free. And it's like, maybe that's why they don't store the coaxium here, is because it's clearly very easy to break in. And
well, it's hard to get to.
Yeah. Well,
and then you need to be able to somehow get, like, it's not a 1-to-1. They barely kind of got admitted in to negotiate.
But she just used a totally fake name. It's not like she said, "Oh, I'm Kira from Crimson Dawn." She said, "I'm a made-up person from a made-up place," which anyone could be making up.
Right. But I mean, well, I mean, in the grand Star Wars tradition, a very simple plan takes down, an organization that, let's also talk about, Jabba's palace or the Death Star, or any of this stuff. It's like, it's
true.
It's fine.
Fair enough. Yeah.
It would be a boring movie if they didn't.
But also I'll go along with that. I'll go that. Yeah, simple plans are better, and
I think that it was dicey that they would ever be able to pull off the fake. Here I'm presenting you with slaves ruse. That seems dubious, but more elegant was that somehow L3 got everybody to riot. I mean, that's hard to do. I mean, to get everybody to riot, I think that was kind of the magic ingredient, and that's all thanks to L3.
Right.
But they just have one button that you could push, and it frees every single Wookiee slave in the place.
Yeah, so. But they wouldn't. Yeah, I guess they wouldn't have.
Well, it wasn't a button. It was that droid who looked kind of like C-3PO ripped out the power to all of the.
Well, but he pushed that button. It said freedom, and pressed the button, and all.
I thought he pulled out the cord, and that's what actually undid the.
I don't know. I think it was. I think Alex is right. It was hitting this big green button. That was just like emergency
Staples.
Right.
Yeah.
Right.
Red.
That was easy. I freed all the slaves.
Yeah, and you would think L3 would have been able to do that anyway somehow. She was able to open all those doors and everything, but who knows?
Susan,
but the other droids know the lay of the land better. They know the controls.
Lay of the lando. Susan, you mentioned Woody. Do you mostly think of Woody? So are you referring to him as Woody from Cheers Woody, or are you referring to the actor Woody?
Yeah, I'm old enough to be. I remember when he debuted on Cheers. Like, I was watching the TV when that happened, and that's how old I am. So yeah, it's impossible, and I never was crazy about him. I hate to be that way, and again, to be so, but he's such a, to me, he's such a cartoon character actor. So he just takes me out of the movie. Like, it's just Woody. And, his trajectory from when he was on Cheers, he was kind of this dumb, sweet hick character that everybody grew to love. But then, like so many actors of the 80s, he wanted to flip that character and become a badass, and so he started doing a lot of movies where he was a badass. And, like we mentioned, Natural Born Killers and People versus Larry Flint. And, he kind of took on, he wanted to do stuff that was much edgier. But that was very typical. And I always thought, like, that was such a, I don't know, like, so he's just so imprinted on my brain with that, which I always thought was so silly that all these actors wanted to be so badass. They couldn't do an innocent character. They had to be badass. And so whenever I'd see him in these kind of movies as a badass, it always goes back to that original Cheers role and how he flipped it. And it just seems like, I don't know, he's a little tainted for me as an actor. And so, again, also just because he has such a distinct personality and look, that he just takes me out of the movie. To me, he's a little too cartoony to not take me out of the movie. On the other hand, I think he does a great job. I do. I think he does a great job.
Yeah.
So.
He just come up into something else or something else that we were talking about. Then I was like, oh yeah, that guy. I forgot.
White Man Can't Jump.
There you go. White Man
Can't Jump.
He inspired Attila.
Yeah. No, I mean, God bless him. He's done he's had a marvelous career for sure. I mean, he's really done well, and you can't.
There are a lot of roles also for badasses compared to like Tom Hanks is like the only one who only plays good guys.
Yeah, I guess. But I was going to say, what we skipped over too was him saying about Chewbacca. Oh, he's dead. Like, so to me, that's that little reference to the next.
That's a good. I like that. I like the performance there, and that like that kind of radio communication thing. He's like, I lost Chewie, and he's like, he's dead. Like, but so that's that Woody Harrelson delivery in that is a very Woody thing. He's like, he's dead. Like, there's like mild concern, but also surprise, and it's a good. And then Han is like, no, he left. He had something to do, and then he's like, well, is he coming back? Like just that kind of. Again, he's probably a little bit concerned about Chewie's well-being, but also like that affects the outcome of the mission. And going back to what we were talking about with standing around the grave of Val and Rio, how much of that is he's upset that they're dead, and how much of it is he's upset that like, oh, now the mission is going to fail and we're going to be in serious danger for ourselves. Like, and so like I think there's a little bit of both in there, and it's a good delivery for that.
I think also I think his extent to caring about his well-being is just that he's like envisioning, because remember he was pitching the idea that they were a good crew, Han,
right,
Beckett and Chewbacca. So I'm sure part of him is just like, oh no, now we got to find a new, not necessarily even for this mission, but for the next, assuming they survive this down.
First, it was his name Kordak, or what was the?
I don't remember.
We talked a lot about him, and now I can't remember what his name is.
The lost crew member.
Yeah.
By the way, do you think this is why Chewbacca agreed so readily to accompanying Han on this mission? Because like they didn't have to do this. Like they could have easily, they just sort of hopped onto the heist, the ice planet heist, and they could have easily just got out of all of this very, I don't know. It just seems to me like Chewbacca, sometimes you feel like, oh, he's going along a little too much with Han. Like it's almost ridiculous. Like what does he have? Is he in love with Han? Like why does he have to follow him around like this? But I wonder if he wasn't motivated because he knew Wookiees would be there, right?
Isn't Chewbacca the one who says? Isn't he the one who suggests going to Kessel? Actually, now that I think
right, that's right. So I think that's what actually originally put that in my head. Was like he wants to, does he really want to go to Free Wookiees? Does he really want to? Because they introduced
Free Wookiees.
No, they introduced that idea when they're sitting around the campfire that he has a tribe and a family, and that's what I mean. They introduced that very poignant thing, and then he's the one who's like, oh, maybe we should go to this planet, and I think that might be what he was thinking all along. That's what, I sort of was thinking that,
Now I want to know how he said it. Did he be like, we should go to Kessel? Or was he like, oh, I don't know, maybe we should go to Kessel?
It was something like that.
Trying to slide it under there because he knows humans would never bother trying to go for Wookiees on their own.
Yeah, because everyone was like, oh, yeah, I guess, sure,
then, do we think that he also had a conversation with L3 and was like, you know what, there's a lot of enslaved creatures on Kessel, so maybe, like, like if
so you think Chewbacca's kind of the Palpatine of this whole story, really secretly pulling the strings, and I like it.
Yeah, no, I like it too. It's a good. Well, plus also, we know that the Beckett specifically, and then to a lesser extent Chewbacca and Han Solo are doing it to because they're doing the whole mission because the Crimson Dawn, they're
in debt to the Crimson Dawn.
They're in debt to the Crimson Dawn because of this, and they couldn't run away. They would be hunted. But I feel like Chewbacca could just get away with it. He could just blend into this group of freed Wookiees, and nobody would be like, they wouldn't. I don't know.
Yeah.
I feel like he could escape because I feel like people around the galaxy are a little more. I'm not going to say racist, specific speciesist, that they will say they probably couldn't tell. They might have to change his name, go into hiding a little bit, but he wouldn't be able to wouldn't be the same as Han or Beckett being.
I feel like Beckett's in the worst because he's worked with Dryden Voss. Like Dryden Voss might not even remember Han Solo's name after after that meeting. So
right. Although, you know what? He would have gotten like a Bosk or something to be like, hey, looking for a specific Wookiee. He was here. Smell my couch and go find that Wookiee. You know what I mean? Like there are other ways there are other species out there who are more adept at hunting Wookiees and would be able to identify specifically Chewbacca and take him out. So I'll back up on that. I'll say he's totally in for it, but he absolutely, I think, has the ulterior motive of freeing the slaves. So,
yeah.
Speaking of
I'm
ulterior
just haunted
motives,
by the idea of Bosk sniffing seat cushions.
Yeah,
creepy image.
To get the scent, you know. Speaking of ulterior motives,
yes.
Does anybody have anything else for 78? Otherwise,
I do not.
All right.
I rest my case.
I'm going to use this as an ulterior motive to tell you to go to StarWarsMinute.com/merch. Because we do the show so you can buy things, right? No, it's vice versa. You buy things so we can do the show. Like, for example, that tapestry behind Alex. And earlier in the week, Susan was wearing a Porgo Loco shirt. And
couldn't quite see it.
It was there. It was there.
Oh, no, that's not. They know that had to be taken. That's not available.
Well, it's available at one of our. We have 2 T-shirt shops up right now, and I think it's available at our other one. But on Threadless. So if you're looking for a design that you were looking for, that you had seen before, and it's not available on one, there you go. Look for the other. Porgo Loco. Taste
the cuteness.
The cuteness. And hopefully everybody will be back to taste the cuteness tomorrow. Here on Star Wars Minute.